start from the beginning of how you discovered the dance and how it partners into your other pursuits.
Well, I discovered the dance for myself personally in the middle 70s when I got exposed to dancing in a free form. I'd always sort of liked to do the Lindy Hop or the Foxtrot partner dancing. But in 1976 I became exposed to dancing free form. But not only dancing free form by myself, but dancing free form with a group of people. And that was a very, in a certain sense, life-changing experience, because the process of dancing in a free way brought in two interesting, perhaps somewhat seemingly diametrically opposed things, because on the one hand, one was dancing myself in a free-form way, but I was also dancing with a group of other people who were also dancing in a free-form way, and the group energy that came from dancing with a group of people in a free-form way to a similar rhythm was a powerful energy. Transmit that into the whole debate that now goes on the planet between unilateralism and multilateralism. Nations dancing together with other nations in a collective way has a very special, energizing, and beautiful energy. It doesn't detract from the personal, individual, free form that is taking place within each one of the nations. And the UN Charter guarantees the sovereignty of every country doing its own thing within its own borders. There are some problems sometimes with that when a country does crazy things, like apartheid in South Africa, and all the nations of the world got together and say, you can't do that crazy thing, and we're going to help change that crazy way. But for the most part, and then they had to expel South Africa in order to not interfere directly in their sovereignty of doing this crazy thing. So there are some problems that still need to be overcome. But the dance was a metaphor. It was a metaphor for being able to express one's individuality, whether as a nation or as a person, and at the same time being involved with the collective energy of all of the other people dancing to a rhythm of life. And that was such a powerful energy and a metaphor for the work that I was doing in promoting the work that the United Nations was doing. It seemed to me that there was a real connection. But on the other issue that you raised, having to do with femininity and masculinity, the dance was also a metaphor for how men and women of our species can collectively connect with one another without interfering with the sovereign rights of those individuals, whether they're male or female, who are expressing themselves through the dance. So the UN then brought those issues together. Now, if you stop for a moment and think, we have been living for eons in patriarchal societies. And during the time that patriarchal societies became the way of life, so to speak, for how society and civilization is ordered, it was during that period of time that the wars, that repression, that murder and killing and violence became a part of the culture. We still today, at the level of the planet, are still a culture of war. You can tell that by where we spend our money. The expenditures on military in the world have now exceeded $1 trillion. more money is being spent on war today, literally, than during the entire Cold War period, per year. The United States alone spends more money on our military involvement than all of the countries in the world put together. The money being spent on military in our country would be enough to provide universal health care, universal education, housing for all of the people in our country, if that became our priority. It is not our priority. Our priority, based on where the money goes, is on things involved in the war machine. It is still a patriarchal game. Yeah, there are some women in the armed forces, and the Secretary of State is Condoleezza Rice, but the machine, the military-industrial machine that President Eisenhower warned about when he left the presidency, is still making things happen in our country. So it's not just a few men involved in a conspiracy. There are a few men involved in making that happen, but it involves industries, the Boeing company and Northrop and Halliburton and all these companies with many, many people in our society who work for those companies. And the money is going in the wrong way. It is going into things that involve war and killing. And that is part of the problem of a patriarchal society. It's not only a problem in this country, it's a problem worldwide. And the UN recognized that over the period of time that it's been in existence, so that today the UN is the premier organization on the planet promoting gender equality and working for the empowerment of women. There is no international organization that comes anywhere near what the United Nations is doing on behalf of providing literacy, universal education, cutting down the death rate of children, infant mortality, etc., etc., that matches the UN.